Hey everyone, it's Mike the Scrapping Guy here again, and in this video tutorial I'm going to show you how to create kind of a parchment old distressed paper, kind of torn edged paper for your digital scrapbooking layouts. So what I have here is an example of what I'm talking about. This is a layout that I recently did for a Halloween, and you can see it has one paper in the background, which is the orange, but then above that is this kind of torn edged paper. Kind of looks distressed, kind of cool, especially for this kind of a layout for Halloween. And you can obviously do this for any of your layouts, but I'm going to show you how to do those two parts for the for this particular layout, just the how we put the paper together and make this top paper look distressed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and I'm going to pull up the background paper, which is a orange one. And actually, this paper was from the 2 gig Halloween pack, and it's available over at www.scrappingguy.com. Tons of Halloween stuff over there, over 1,500 different papers and embellishments, and there's actual audio and all this other cool stuff. So if you get a chance, go check that out. But anyway, back to the design here. I do have the first paper that I'm going to be working with, and here's the second paper, which I'm going to put on top of that one. So I'm going to go over to my Move tool, and I'm just going to drag it over top of the other paper. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that to get rid of it. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so it fits inside this background paper of the orange. And I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to kind of tilt it a little bit, just kind of make it off center. Hit the little green arrow there. There we go. Now what I want to do is get kind of the torn edges, and it's real easy to do. I'm just going to go ahead and go to my eraser tool, and I'm going to pick a brush. Let me just go to my regular brushes. And we don't want a soft edge brush, we want kind of a hard edged brush. And as you can see, it's kind of small there, so I'm going to use my right bracket on my keyboard, make it a little bit bigger. And all I'm going to do is, with the eraser tool selected, I'm just going to go down and I'm just going to kind of use my mouse and go in and out different areas of this edges. There we go here. Just go all the way around the outside, kind of putting little indentations and things. It can be completely random. In fact, it's better if it's random. Kind of square that out there. And just go up, just like it was a piece of paper being torn. Real simple. And if there's edges you don't like, you can go in, you can kind of refix them, make them look a little more realistic. There we go. Alright, so that's the beginning of our top distressed paper. And I'm going to go over it, I'm going to throw in a drop shadow to that paper. So what I can do, if your effects just happen to be on this setting, just go over to the layer styles, click that little icon, and in the drop down menu just choose drop shadows. I'm going to go over to the low drop shadow, and I'm just going to drag it on top of the yellow paper. We can see we have a little bit of a shadow going around there. If I want to make it a little more of a shadow, I'm going to go and I'm going to double click the little FX icon there, and I'm going to make some changes on here. I can change the distance, the opacity of it, make it a little bit darker, and the size to give it a little bit more of a shadow. Go ahead and hit OK. That looks kind of cool so far, and we can just kind of leave it that way, but I want to make this look distressed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my Burn and Dodge tools, which is over here, and the Burn tool will make it look a little bit darker. The Dodge tool will actually make it a little bit lighter. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that when it goes up to the range, you want to make sure Shadows is selected, and you can choose your exposure. Usually I go between 50 and 60% for the exposure, and I kind of make a soft brush as the Dodge and the Burn tools, and I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to go right around the edges of the paper. Actually, you know what? Let me get the exposure up a little bit. Just hold the mouse key down, or mouse button down, and just go ahead and just kind of paint over top of just the corners and the edges. And actually, if you paint over something you've previously used as the Burn tool, it'll actually make it even a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of hit these here. We can already see the papers are looking a little bit old already. And actually I'm going to go kind of do some in the middle here also. Not a whole lot, just enough to make it look like it's aged. one more here. And what I can also do is go over to my dodge tool and kind of do the same thing. Let me get the exposure up here, make sure it's set on shadows, and make kind of a bigger. And this doesn't have quite as much effect because everything is pretty bright out anyway, but if you want to kind of mix between the dodge and the burn tool, you can get kind of a cool aged looking distressed effect there. And I have one more step that I want to do, and I need to open up another file. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And it's in my overlays file. And I have to try to remember which one it was. Take a look here. Actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and try this old tree one. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And once again, that was available over at the scrappingguy.com. And what an overlay is, what we're going to do is use this to make kind of an imprint on this paper using this design. And I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. And you can probably do search the Google for different overlays, and you can even use other images for overlays. This one just happens to be kind of handy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that and move it on to the layout that we're working on. And you can see here it is the top layer. And what I wanted to do is just work on, just use it on the light tan paper. I don't want it to mess with the back orange paper. So what I can do is I can actually group these two together, and then that way they will only work with each other. So to do that, you want to make sure whatever you are grouping with the second one is you want to make sure it's on top. Make sure it's selected, and hit Control G. And what that'll do is if you look over here, it actually is now only confined to the paper that we were working on, not the orange background. So now what I can do is one more step. I'm going to go and I'm going to mess around with the different overlay options just to try to get what one I think works best. Your multiply makes it a little bit darker there. Color burn kind of gives it kind of a cool effect there too. And like I said, what you can do is you can just kind of mess with these and pick which one you think works best for what you're looking for. Screen looks kind of neat there. And let's see, linear add. Some of them don't seem to have as much effect as you would think. Some of them are very subtle. Like if you look on here, by choosing overlay, it looks like the image is just poking through where the darker image is, or darker part of that parchment paper is. Soft light kind of does the same thing. Hard light makes another kind of effect. There's vivid light. So this is kind of a neat way to pick what you're looking for and choose the effect that works best for you. So I'm going to go, and I think the one that looked kind of the best was it the color burn? The color burn looks pretty good. It has a little too much effect, but it kind of gives me that little bit of an effect I'm looking for. But because it's a little darker and the tree is a little bit too pronounced, I'm going to go over to my opacity. I'm going to bring the opacity of that layer down a little bit. Move it there. And there we have kind of a distressed paper on a normal paper, and it looks kind of cool. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and put your different elements and embellishments and word art and everything else you want on there to make something similar to this. And that's about it. That's how you would make a distressed paper, kind of a torn paper, for your digital scrapbooking layouts.